Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and 2026 marks 125 years of dedicated service by the Australian Army and its predecessors. Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Henry Herbert Mason and warmly welcome his family who are in attendance this evening. Private Mason's story will be told shortly by Petty Officer Nicole Griffin from the Royal Australian Navy, who is a member of Private Mason's family. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students on behalf of School of Sport Education visiting from Darwin, Northern Territory. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Thank you. You may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Henry Herbert Mason. Known to his family as Harry, Mason was born near Dunedoo, New South Wales in 1894 to William Henry Mason and Mary Ann Nee Hodgen. He grew up in the Canberra area and attended the small public school there. By the time the First World War began, Harry Mason was working as a labourer at Gilgandra. Mason enlisted for the service in Australian Imperial Force at Bathurst on the 25th of February 1916. After completing his initial training, he was allotted to the 3rd Reinforcements to the 45th Australian Infantry Battalion. As his embarkation date loomed, Mason went absent without leave on the 15th of May, returning the following morning, for which he was fined £1. On the 22nd of May, he embarked from Sydney along with other reinforcements aboard the transport ship Warralilda, bound for England. When the ship stopped briefly at Durban, he was given 4 hours leave. He found a moment to dash off a message on a postcard to his sister. "Dear May, I haven't time to write to you as we have to get back to the boat, but am all right and hoping you are all the same. Love to all, from Harry." In Cape Town, he wrote a longer message to his sister on a postcard featuring a Japanese lady in a kimono, which he managed to obtain from a Japanese sailor in Fremantle. He described his brief sojourn in Durban and meeting the locals. "The people treated us better than the Australians." He went on to describe interaction with some of the locals in the town. After disembarking in England, he was hospitalised briefly with an illness, but he soon rejoined his comrades who had been sent to the 12th Training Battalion. Several more months of training ensued before he was sent to France towards the end of September. After a week at Etaples, he was sent forward and joined the 45th Battalion on the 3rd of October. On arriving at his unit, he was sent to join 9 Platoon C Company. At this time, the battalion was behind the lines in Belgium. Mason had his first experience in the front lines in the middle of the month, and by the beginning of November, the 45th Battalion had relocated to France. As autumn descended into a bitter winter, illness began taking its toll. Mason was evacuated, suffering from bronchitis in mid-November, and did not return to the 45th Battalion until early January 1917. Over the next 3 months, the battalion spent some time in the front lines near Flers and rotated back through the support lines and rest areas. In late March, Mason was found in an estaminet or cafe. After prescribed hours, he was brought before his commanding officer and fined 1 day's pay. The 45th Battalion was in reserve during the First Battle of Bellecourt in April, and while men took part in patrolling, they took no direct part in the fighting. Mason's first major battle took place in early June at Messines. The noise of 19 mines detonating just after 3 a.m. would have been horrific. The 45th Battalion advanced in the second wave a little after 3 p.m, passing through the New Zealanders who had captured Messines. After capturing part of their initial objective, the Australians continued to advance, but stopped when they detected a German counterattack forming up. As the Germans advanced, the Australians opened a devastating fire upon them, causing heavy casualties. Around this time, a British defensive artillery barrage began, the shells initially falling behind the Australians. Then, as the barrage lifted, the shells landed directly onto their positions, killing many men outright and forcing the survivors to draw back to the New Zealand positions. As the surviving men of the 45th withdrew, one eyewitness recalled, "About 8:30 p.m, we were retiring under heavy machine gun fire. I saw Mason some yards in front of me. He and another man were helping a wounded man towards the New Zealand trenches, about 50 yards away. I saw the second man with Mason hit. Mason bound him up and the 3 started off again. I lost sight of Mason and have not seen or heard of him since. Another man saw Mason after he had been wounded. He reported, I went up to Mason. He was wounded in the body and was just about done. We could not stop as we had to carry on, but I don't think he could have been recovered. He was listed as missing in action after the battle, and it was not until March 1918 that a court of inquiry concluded he had been killed in the previous June. Mason's body was recovered and identified. He was laid to rest in the Messines Ridge British Cemetery. The epitaph on his headstone reads, "Have mercy upon him, Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him." Henry Mason was 22 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Henry Herbert Mason, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If able, please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.